Ezra Levant here for Rebel News. I'm actually at the Fashion Institute of Technology in Manhattan, where, I don't know, I guess in the last hour or so, a group of pro-Hamas supporters stormed into the lobby of the Fashion Institute of Technology and have set up an echo camp of what's at Columbia. The anti-Semites therein want the university or the institute to cut all ties with Israel, and they put Israel in quotation marks. I spoke to some of the kids outside who really didn't have a clue what was going on. They didn't know much about Gaza or Israel. I asked them what they had to say about the Uyghur genocide. Those are the Muslims in Western China who were literally put in concentration camps. They don't know any of that. They prefer to chant, but there are organizers. We know in Canada that, for example, Iran has 700 agents in Canada actively pumping up an anti-Semitic protest. Let's see what the fuss is about around here. Many of the people protesting are not students. Not surprisingly, they wear masks. I think the funniest moment of the day, and I've only been here for about an hour, is seeing people with flags that aren't even the Palestinian flags. What country's flag is this? What flag is this?
Palestine.
Is this a Palestine flag?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Hi. Do you know what flag this is?
I'm not sure, but it's not the Palestine flag.
She says it's not the Palestine flag.
It was given to me.
Did you just pick it up or did someone give it to you?
It was given to me. Sorry.
I don't think that's the Palestine flag. What's the protest about?
Palestine and the eviction of 2 students and the firing of an RA.
Do you live here in New York or did you come here from another place?
I dorm here.
Where are you from originally?
Mexico.
Oh, Mexico. Are you going to boycott class or is it just sort of like a one-day protest?
I'm hoping it goes for more than one day.
Is it expensive to be a student here?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's expensive?
Yeah.
Are you worried that, you're going to miss out on your education?
I mean, absolutely, but there's things that are more important.
I'm glad people are showing up and supporting.
And why are you glad people are showing up and supporting? What are they supporting? Help me understand. I just got here 1 minute ago.
The students of FIT are protesting for free Palestine. They're under a devastating genocide right now, and it's about time the whole city stands up and is loud about something so horrible.
And what should be done?
A lot of universities, including FIT, have connections to Israel. They should divest all of their money and all of their associations with Israel. There are charges against certain students for protesting, and they should drop those charges. Everybody should be loud and help this finally come to an end.
Can I ask how much tuition is here? I have no idea.
It depends if you're in-state or out-of-state. If you're out-of-state, it's about $15,000 a semester. If you're in-state, $5,000.
So you're from Mexico, so that would be like, what, 30 grand US a year?
About.
I'm from Canada, so that's like 50 grand Canadian. And you say you're from Mexico, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, yeah.
Are your folks helping you?
Not anymore, no.
Not anymore?
No.
How come?
My father lost his job.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Okay, it happens.
Are you on a scholarship or something?
Not right now, sadly.
Well, you're taking a bit of a risk. If you're not going to go to class, I guess. Like, are you worried?
No.
So, cut ties with Israel. Should it cut ties with any other countries that, for example, aren't liberal democracies, or just Israel? Like, how about Iran or China? China's not a liberal democracy. Should FIT cut ties with them?
No. First and foremost, focusing on Israel right now.
Now, in China, there's a group of Muslims called the Uyghurs. They're in a province called Xinjiang. They have actual concentration camps where Muslims are interned. Does that warrant sanctions, or should FIT still deal with them?
I'm not going to speak to that. I think we're focusing on the genocide that's happening in Israel specifically right now.
In Israel, or is it genocide in Israel, or is it in Gaza, or where is it?
It is in occupied Palestine, in the West Bank as well as Gaza.
There's a genocide in the West Bank?
There's not a genocide, but yet, and hopefully there won't be, but there are similar atrocious crimes going on, and the land is occupied by Israel.
Are you a student here?
I'm not.
So you just came down because you heard the protest?
Yeah, and I know several students that attend, but I'm not a student myself.
Are you with a group of some sort?
No, I'm not.
They tried to bury us, but we're just the seed. Fit administration, you will not scare us. You will not suppress our voices. We will just be louder. Let Gaza live. Slogans. And as I said before, whenever I ask some of these protesters any substantive questions, they just don't know the answer. And they resort to these mantras, but mainly what they do is they don't talk. There's a strange delegation of any intellectual responsibility to some professional communicators. And, people Googled what Rebel News was, and they started saying, don't talk to them, don't talk to them. That's so unusual to me as someone who spent a life trying to persuade the world of my point of view. I mean, I used to be in politics. I had rallies. I actually briefly ran as a political candidate. I write opinion editorials, or I make opinion videos all the time. So much of my life is trying to convince the world of my point of view. I might be wrong, I might be right, but boy, I got a lot to say. What's different about these protesters is they don't have much to say. Slogans that are typically written by the organizers are all they have. They delegate their thinking to a few spin doctors. I find that not only civically irresponsible, but I think it gives the game away. These are just thrill hunters. These are just people moving with the pack, looking for a sense of purpose and community, and finding it in this snake oil being served up by woke extremists on the left, and in some cases, foreign-funded agitators. I can't help but think of other movements where impressionable young people were weaponized, whether it's the Hitler Jugend or the young pioneers in the Soviet Union. I think that's what we're seeing here. The same madness, the same chanting. I don't know, it's just very eerie, an echo of history. But do you think these kids know any history? Hi, what's your name?
Anthony Freda, professor here. And I was here the moment that they stormed in the building. Some of my students are in there, and it started out as a peaceful protest, but they obviously had it planned where they were going to storm past security. So they all just diverted and stormed. There was no security, and they just went right into the museum building and took it over. And here we are.
And are you yourself blocked from entering now?
Yeah, nobody can get in.
And were you teaching a class today?
Yes.
How do you feel about this?
Well, I'm all in favor of free speech, but this is something else. You're taking over an institution, and you're preventing people from working, and it's not your property, so it's trespassing, and it's also ideologically, I'm not in agreement with my students, but I agree with their right to protest.
Now, we were at Columbia yesterday, and I think there's sort of a spectrum of protesters. Some are, like you say, peaceful protesters who want political change, but then there's language that, refers to genocide, and then there's language from the river to the sea, and then globalize the intifada. Like, there are some people who are, I saw a video yesterday, I didn't take it, but of people saying, go back to Poland to the Jews. Like, they were basically...
Anti-Semitism in some of the rhetoric.
Here as well?
Here as well, of course. They're saying, I work at FIT, and they're saying FIT is the same as the KKK, so it's obviously absurd. This is a very liberal fashion school, so to say it's the same as KKK is it's such extreme rhetoric, and it's, to me, that's hate speech.
Do you know if some of the folks in there? I think you implied that many of the people in there are not actually students. Did I hear you correctly?
I think most of them are, but from when I was here, when they stormed in, some of them were not students.
Well, my opinion is that what you can see, my opinion is that those people are, I can see a total ignorance. I'll just give you one example. I was talking to one man and I asked them, well, what are you protesting about? And he said, resistance against occupation. And I said, okay, well, October the 7th, was it a resistance? He said, yeah, of course. And then I just showed him a video reel from October the 7th that was filmed in Gaza. This 24 years old girl, shiny look, well, she was murdered, she was killed, and her naked body was defiled. And you can see people spitting on her body, like kicking her dead body. And I just asked him, is this a resistance to occupation? And he replies, well, first of all, I don't believe it. I said, what do you mean you don't believe it? It's films. And then he's like, I don't give a shit. So that's all. So basically he said, I think all what you need to hear about is like, it's like they don't care about justice or anything. They just choose sides. When you show him a murdered girl who's been spitted on, all of a sudden he doesn't give a shit. That's all you need to know about it.
I support it
Why do you support it?
because the war need to stop. They have to stop to killing people. That's why I'm support.
I think a lot of people would agree that the violence has to stop, but are you afraid of supporting a terrorist group against a democratic country?
They're conflict. They're gonna have to solve the problem peaceful way, not just killing each other. They cannot continue on doing this anymore.
Now, the war. Would you agree that the war started on October 7th when Hamas terrorists invaded Israel?
It's begun like long time ago. It's not like just started like last October 7th. That's not true, right? What I know of, like I know a little bit of a history, but then what I know of is that it was going on all the time, but then it just, yeah.
What do you think of the anti-Semitism being focused on New Yorkers, students who attend here?
No, this is not about anti-Semitism.
Well, the Jews, some of the Jews here say it is.
That's their opinion.
So
That's an anti-Semitism activity here.
So if the Jews feel targeted and harassed, they're just being too sensitive.
Have you met any Jewish students here, like being harassed?
The fashion industry in New York has a Jewish history. The Shmata business. I think Calvin Klein's an alumnus here. What is it? I don't know if you know any Jewish students. How have they felt about either? I mean, it's too early to say what they think about today. It just happened minutes ago. What have they said about the last 6 months, I guess?
Some of my Jewish students are hesitant to speak about it, but they're very dismayed about it because they feel like it's very one-sided, and a lot of the people who are protesting are sort of ignorant about the history and the issues and very myopic, and it's just inflamed rhetoric, and it's ironic because they're using hate speech to decry what they see as hate speech, and they're advocating genocide of Jews because they are against genocide of Palestinians, supposedly.
Now, I was at Columbia yesterday, and they're very disciplined, the protesters. They won't talk to media. They refer media to official spokesmen. And my theory is that a lot of these students actually have no idea what they're talking about. They're repeating mantras, repeating chants. I spoke to one protester who had never heard of Uyghur Muslims in China. And when I told her a few things, she couldn't care less. I think there are some naive folks, but I think there's some organizers, some sort of funders. Who do you think that top echelon is? Because the ordinary students I talk to I don't think they have any depth here.
They're clueless. I think this is orchestrated, sort of a TikTok, AstroTurf rebellion. That it's fashionable right now, and it's popular just because it's popular, and they have no idea what they're talking about. But they want to be part of this so-called rebellion against, the colonizers and oppressors and the same old oppressive dynamic that there's always a victim-oppressor mentality, and they see Israel as the oppressor and the Palestinians as the oppressed.
How do you think it's going to end? This.
I don't know. I spoke to the police and they said this is a private school, but it's really not, because SUNY school is a public New York school. So they said it's up to the school to extricate the kids. So I don't know. It's going to be some kind of standoff, or they're planning on staying there until their demands are met, and their demands are absurd. You can see them on the sign over there. So the demands are not going to be met. So I don't know what's going to happen.
One of the grossest things, and this is typically an Iran move, is that there's an extremely small sect of Jewish, a fringe Jewish group that when they're asked to, they come and purport to represent Jews. You can see the ultra-Orthodox back there with anti-Semitic comments. Why would you come and shame your fellow Jews? Aren't you a shunda for the goyim? How much have you been paid to be here and be a Jewish anti-Semite?
How much are you paid, sir? How much are you paid?
Who pays you to be here, to be a shunda for the goyim?
How much are you paid?
How much money will you take to be an anti-Semite? How do you feel about being an anti-Semite?
Murderers!
How much are you paid to be here? How much are you paid to be here? How much are you paid to be here?
Get out of here!
How much are you paid to be here? Who pays you?
Murderer! 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 Shame on you!
Who pays you? The Iran? Does Iran
Shame
pay
on
you?
you!
Who pays
Shame on you, murderer!
Who pays you?
Videotaping your shitty show, bro. Murderer!
Who's
Get
paying
out
you
of
to
here.
be here? Who's paying you to be here? Who's paying you to be an anti-Semite? A Jewish anti-Semite. A Jewish anti-Semite.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
What's your name?
Shame on you is my fucking name! Shame on you!
I'm here at the Fashion Institute of Technology, and it looks like I've got a bit of reaction.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame
Are you
on
a student here?
Shame on you!
Are you a student
Shame
here?
on you! Shame on
You're
you!
very brave with your
Shame
mask
on
on.
you! Shame on you!
Okay.
Shame on you!
There's an extremist sect in Judaism called the Natsurai Karta, who, for reasons that are inscrutable to me, they don't believe in the state of Israel. They're 0.001% of the Jewish community. There's a handful of them in London, England, a handful in New York, and a handful in Canada. I've got to think that their total numbers are under 1,000. But one of the ways they make money is they rent themselves out to anti-Semitic protests to say, hey, no, Jews hate Israel too. It's bizarre. It's a betrayal of their Judaism, and it's at the behest of the Iran government. They don't come out here for free. They don't come here as part of a religious activity. This is how they make money. And whenever you see those Natsurai Karta protesters, it's a signal that the protest itself is funded by Iran. I used a Yiddish term on them, shanda for the goyim, which means a disgrace to the Jewish people in the eyes of the world. And I think they might have been surprised that I knew a little bit of Yiddish. I think what's interesting about this is that the Fashion Institute of Technology, from what we heard, that one student from Mexico, it's about $30,000 US a year, or 50,000 Canadian, which is a startling thing for people to walk away from and throw out their career if they're expelled or suspended. But of course, why would that happen if the institution itself has been colonized like the students? If the dean, if the president of the university is as compromised as the students? Again, I can't help but looking at the Shirley Goodman Resource Center, the name of this building behind me, without even Googling. I know that that's a Jewish philanthropist. And as I said at Columbia, pearls before swine.
How many
with the media. It's a protest without words. Just chants. Free, free the Fashion Institute. 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 What's so interesting to me is I follow a couple of analysts and critics who study Maoism, including Xi Van Fleet, a Chinese American who went through the Cultural Revolution of Mao Zedong, and of course Dr. James Lindsay, who's an expert in Marxism and queer theory today. And I look at this mob and their cult-like chants and their lack of any policy depth and their youth and the fact that they're misfits and they're demonizing things and that they're being managed. And all I see is Mao's Red Guard, the young know-nothings who want to destroy everything. I should tell you, half of their chants are against Israel and Jews, but the other half are against America. This is Marxism, whose deep roots have gone into academia and who are being supplemented by foreign nationals. It's worse in Canada and the UK, where there's many more foreign students from countries where anti-Semitism is endemic. Here I have to say it's mainly privileged luxury kids attending an expensive private fashion school who have decided that this is the way to be fashionable and modern and edgy. All I can think of are Mao's Red Guard holding their little red book and chanting. They don't know a damn thing about what they're talking about. In this case, some of them were even flying the wrong flag. But what they lack in understanding, they make up for in enthusiasm. This will end in blood. For more on this subject, go to deporthamas.com.